Hello there. Once again, this is Anton from Anton Bay. Today I'm taking a look at First Comics Evangeline. I've had a few of these before, and just a couple kind of mixed in throughout my different videos, and it's a book I've kind of looked at. I've never read. I've always meant to, but I haven't got around to it. And what happened is I just finished out my series. So I have the entire run. And so I thought now would be a good time to kind of just look through them all. Evangeline is not to be confused with Evangeline from Rob Liefeld in Image Comics. This character came out beforehand and obviously much different, although she is a nun and a warrior. So we'll keep that in mind. And yes, even though this isn't issue number 1, there was a last issue. As it says here, Comico published 2 issues of Evangeline, and they then represented by Lone Stone in the Evangeline special. The first 6 issues takes the tale of Evangeline and Johnny Six find themselves on wreck in an interstellar cargo ship toward an unknown planet. Fortunately for the surviving hijackers that killed the ship's crew, they're headed towards the same destination. So, there you go. Comico had this book first, and as you can see, just lots of, you got dinosaurs and stuff going on, so it's not a down-to-earth book. You got lots of different, and whoa, that is a Rebel Snowspeeder. I don't care what year this is. What year is this? 1987. 87. That's a Rebel Snowspeeder. It looks just like it. You can't, anyway. We're off to a good start then. We're on a jungle planet. We got dinosaurs roaming around. Everybody's favorite thing. I love this. Look at that page. Look at that page. Just gorgeous. I love all sorts of Lost World type stories, especially in comics. I'm a pretty big fan of most of your Lost World type movies, The Land Unknown and stuff like that. Except for the actual movie Jurassic Park's Lost World. I kind of hate that one. I like the entire Jurassic Park film franchise except for the Lost World. If you'll notice, it's the only one where everybody is completely unlikable. But this book, on the other hand, looks totally likable. I'm getting all sorts of Indiana Jones-ish type adventure going on, but it's going much further because clearly we're in space. There's dinosaurs. I'm not a countess, I'm a nun. Stuff going on. You know what? And like I said, I have not read these. And the fact that I can look through it and I'm like, wow, I haven't read this? I really need to read this. It's always one of those things where you intend to read something and then you don't always get around to it like you think you will, but that would be a cool Ninja Turtles poster. Let's take a gander at that wraparound cover, because that is beautiful. Totally beautiful. There's issue 1. Right on to issue 2. Now these are not perfect. Some of these have a little crink at the top there. I like how it says, who are these guys anyway? The first 50. John Sable. I know I have some of his books. I don't know if I've read any of them. This just looks like a good 80s adventure book. Count on it. First Comics. Issue 3. Before I did not have issue 2, pretty sure. Some pretty good stuff. Looks like the art's Looks like the art is holding out well. I love seeing the old ads in these books. I notice a lot of first stuff doesn't have just a ton of ads. Keeps it pretty easy to read, and the ads that it does have are stuff for their own stuff, you know. I'm not getting an ad for Chef Boyardee on every other page like it felt like sometimes I was in the 90s with Marvel. And not that I don't like Chef Boyardee. It's just, it seemed pretty interesting that that's all they advertise so much stuff like that. I like the fact that the letter page is called The Confessional. That is clever. And I am not Catholic, but I don't know how accurate a lot of that. I've always kind of wondered that. Whenever you see these like warrior nuns, there's warrior nun Evangeline, there's warrior nun Ariella, this Evangeline. I always kind of wonder, you know, what do Catholics think of that? That seems kind of, I don't know. Are they even doing it accurately in the context of a science fiction story? You know, who knows? Like I was saying, the art is holding its own. I noticed that the color palette, and the reason I said earlier that it gives me kind of Indiana Jones vibe, there's not a lot of bright colors going on here. That I would say, as far as a down-to-earth color palette, you're not dealing with a bunch of really bright colors, and sometimes that's good. Sometimes that feels a little bland. I'll be honest. Sometimes I really like some bright colors, and I got some comics that, I mean, are bright. Most of that stuff by Comico. I was shown, I don't know, recently I did like Comico's The Justice Machine. You can see what I'm talking about when I say a bright color palette and a very mild, down-to-earth color palette. And that is what this is. And from what I remember on all those old Indiana Jones and stuff like that, comics, set in the 40s, you had a lot more down-to-earth color palettes, and sometimes that's good. But don't get me wrong, I do love my bright colors when it comes to my comics. This is an issue I had before. I just thought it was a cool cover, and it was something I picked up in probably a dollar bin somewhere. Could this be Whisper? Could be, because there's Whisper right there. And ad. There's another first comic book that I would like to look into. I've heard it's good. Haven't got into it. Definitely want to give it a chance. This book, you know, it would almost work in black and white just because it's so, I don't know, the colors are so even. They're so earth tone. They're so blah. Although, yeah, it's the second I say that, I see a lime green planet in the background. But this is another one that I had before. And see what happens. I had a couple issues, but the way I finished the series is I found the entire lot for, I mean, little to nothing. It was like $12 for the whole set. So I was like, I'm gonna buy just the whole set. So I have a few duplicates now, but this is one I had before. And I bought just because the cover. I was like, that's a neat looking cover. That's a neat looking gun. That's all it is. There's no big fancy background. Something about it appealed to me. I liked it. Just looked like a mercenary type gal there on the front, sporting a cool gun and a cool comic name. So, you know, even in their more sci-fi moments here, the color palette is still staying fairly down to earth. Carries a revolver even in space. That's dedication. The Confessional. Yeah, just, I don't know, I'm really enjoying this book. This is another book that I would like to get a few more of. Star Slayer, The Log of the Jolly Roger. I have picked up a couple issues of it. I've seen them here and there. It's one of those, it's a longer series, so it would be harder for me to like complete out, but one that I always look for. And it looks like we're keeping the same artist through this entire book. Story, Charles Dixon. Pencils, John Statima. I think that's how you pronounce that. I was pretty sure this was a Chuck Dixon book, but Elric and the Bane of the Black Sword. I have not read any Elrics. I've come across a few. I have never heard of Hawkmoon, Jewel of the Skull. And I always love it when I come across an ad for a book that I have literally never heard of. And that happens quite often with First Comics. You'll just see an ad for a book that looks interesting that, honestly, I've never heard of. And the thing is if you can come up with a book that I have never heard of, by the way, Nexus, just grade A. Grade A art, grade A story. Just really good books. Well, like I was saying, if you can come up with a comic book that I have not heard of, that's pretty impressive. Because I'm looking. Like, I've been looking for years. For the more obscure, the more weird. And, of course, where I've had just gobs and gobs of comics in my life. And I've backed it off into a very small amount of comics, or a relatively small amount of comics, a portion of what I once had. It's very impressive that there's just still books out there that you didn't know about, and they're not even new. They're old. They're right in the vein of what you were looking for all these years, and yet you still haven't found them all. And I think that's fascinating. It makes me wonder just how many different comics, different writers. I mean, the 80s were a mess as far as writers and books being produced and published. To know of all of them, I don't know that you ever would. It's just crazy to think about. Getting some blood and violence in here. We've already had violence, but I haven't seen much for blood. I mean, maybe a little, but of course you can, because this is a pre-code book, or I should say not a pre-code book, a no-code book. You do not have the comic code on here. Who will be the next Nexus? That ad just looks awesome. It's such an 80s looking ad. Just gotta check out this mech suit. He's piloting here with the chainsaw hand. That's pretty neat. Hostage Planet and the Confessional Nexus. Issue number 11. I think there was 12 issues total was what the actual run of this book was. So really only a year. Looks like we're getting more Off-World, which kind of makes me wonder, you know, we got Off-World going on, where I haven't read these books. I am kind of curious. I know this is 1987, but I wonder what year these are taking place in. American Flag, that's one I did have some of. I think I purged all those out. I don't think I was interested enough to keep them. And I know that sounds cold, but when you gotta consider how many comics I got rid of, I had to get pretty open-minded about what I was gonna sell and what I wasn't. Issue number 12. Looks like your last issue. Hostage Planet Part 2, God's Love, Johnny 6. It's a good looking book. You know, the whole way through, this has been a good looking book. I have these big Ninja Turtle books 1 through 4. They are fantastic. They are color reprints and kind of an oversized version of the original Ninja Turtles comics. Just a delight. And they were made by First. I can't recommend those enough. Those were fantastic. Support your local comic retailer. And there you go. There's the end of the series. End of all of it. I'm not sure. Let's see what the context of where this book falls. I don't see an open little title spot. And I mean, the color is different. That is weird. I'm almost inclined, looking at it, I'm thinking this takes place before the others. I thought it was probably an after the others type book, but this gives me all sorts of before those books vibes. A little more water, but looks like almost watercolored type art, but beautiful. Very beautiful art. Yeah, I don't know where this falls. LP. It's not made by First. And I can't find. Oh, 1985. That's the only date I'm seeing in here. So this is probably before that other one. 1986. So yeah, this has been a year before this other series. This has been a prequel of sorts, but it still looks great. I'm pleased with just having the whole series in hand, and it's a beautiful looking series for no more than I paid for it. I'm just really happy with it. Hope you guys were happy watching it, and hey, that's my story. Appreciate your views, appreciate your comments, appreciate your likes, everything. You guys have a good one. I'll catch you later. Bye.